Happy holidays, folks, and welcome to December, the holiday events on the channel where I explore the death and downfall of the DCEU films. I upload a video on one of the films every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday between December 4th and December 28th. I do go into immense spoilers, so if that sounds like it's something interesting to you, kick back, relax, grab some snacks, a loved one to watch with maybe, and get ready because today we're talking about...
And I'm telling it, so I'll start where I fucking want.
Now, as you all recall from my unreleased take in my Aquaman video, I stated that Aquaman was the beginning of a renaissance for the DCEU. It released 3 films that were back-to-back-to-back bangers in quality. However, one of them ended up failing at the box office, and that was Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Now, here's the thing. The movie actually had 3 outstanding problems that forced it to do poorly in the box office, and none of it is really its own fault. The first problem is that leading up to the movie's release, leakers did what they do and they leaked elements of the plot for the story. They stated that Black Mask only wore his mask once in the movie, which turns out to be true, and I'll talk about it a bit later. They said that the plot of the movie was about Harley having a diamond with information embedded in it that Black Mask wanted to get, and he was going to kill her over it. However, the part of that's a lie that caused a massive uproar and tons of people to be spiteful and hateful towards the movie is that the information on the diamond was Black Mask's sexual relationship with his companion, Victor Zsasz. That is what was told to the general public. This ended up not being true, and the information on the diamond has to do with mafia money, but no one knew that at the time because they hadn't seen the movie. The leaks came out a long time before the movie did, so people heard that, they got mad, tons of people made videos talking about how it's woke and stupid and blah 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 blah, and how they weren't gonna see it, and people heard about it and they decided they weren't gonna see it, and it was just a huge fucking mess that really ruined a lot of viewership for the film. Second problem that happened that really affected this movie is the fact that the majority of the DCEU is garbage. So leading up to this movie, Man of Steel was not good. Granted, I know people will argue with them about that, but it's my opinion, so shut up. Man of Steel was bad. Batman v Superman was bad. Suicide Squad was bad. Wonder Woman was good. Justice League was bad. Then Aquaman and Shazam were good. So out of 7 movies, only 3 of them were actually good, and now we're up to the 8th movie. It's like a shot in the dark as to which one's going to be good and which one isn't. So I can understand people not wanting to take a risk. You can clearly see that now with the MCU. A lot of projects in the MCU aren't good, but then some of them are. It's a shot in the dark as to which one's good and which one's bad. And people are kind of sick of taking a chance on finding out which it is and wasting their money. So that fatigue had kind of set in with the DCEU back then. And then the biggest factor is the fact that this movie came out 1 month before the US went under pandemic lockdown for COVID. So a month before we went under lockdown, people were already extremely skeptical, very wary of being around people. They were scared of being in big crowds to get sick. So you would imagine a movie's opening weekend where a theater's supposed to be packed, people went, oh, you want me to be in a room with a bunch of sick people and kill myself to go see this movie about the clown lady? Fuck no! So all of this culminated into Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn flopping at the box office. However, Warner Brothers tried one hat trick to try and get people to go and see the movie, and it is the most hilarious and pointless thing that they have ever done. You see, while the movie was still in theaters, they changed the title at theaters from Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn to Harley Quinn: Birds of Prey. Now, its original title is super fitting for the movie about Harley Quinn because Harley Quinn is a very crazy and nonsensical kind of person and character, so that long, extravagant title fits her perfectly. However, the problem here is that now it's just boring, and the reason they did it is because they're like, oh, well, if we put Harley Quinn in the title at the front, people will then go, oh, it's a Harley Quinn movie, I'll go see it. But like, this is a post-Endgame world at this point. Superhero media is like the dominant genre in the world. People know what Birds of Prey is. They're just not going to see it. So changing the title isn't going to do anything. And I vividly remember going to the theater with one of my best friends to see this movie. It was the last movie I got to see before getting locked down in the pandemic. And I was actually super excited to see that long-ass ridiculous title up on the digital board scrolling across only to get there and see this dull Harley Quinn Birds of Prey title on there, and I was like, I'm kind of disappointed. But this is also very funny that they thought that this would change anything. But all of that aside, that affected how the movie did. But how is the movie itself? Well, I already told you it was a banger at the beginning of the video, but how much of a banger is it? Honestly, I think it is probably like the best DCEU film. The only one that I think really comes close to knocking it off of its high horse is probably James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. But I'll see if it dethrones it by the time I get there. I remember really liking it, but this movie kind of takes the cake for me just a little bit more as my number one. And honestly, this movie's way too solid to go through scene by scene, picking it apart, because I don't really have anything to say about what makes it bad. And like talking about it scene by scene isn't going to lead into me being go like, aha, so you see, now that I told you all this, that this is blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen because there isn't really much to do. This movie's just really solid on its own. It's just a great film. However, there are problems that I have with it that I think they could have changed that would have made the movie better. For starters, I think the Birds of Prey needed to be more prominent in the Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn movie, because they kind of only get together in the third act for the final battle, and I really like the dynamic that the four of them have. Renee, Huntress, Harley, Cassandra, and Black Canary all really get along well. I know I said four, but that's because the Birds of Prey are mainly those four women and Cassandra's little kid, so like she doesn't really count as a bird of prey. She's kind of like the little kid that they're protecting. So I'm technically right here, but the five of them have really good chemistry with each other, and they bounce off each other so well that I wish they shared more scenes together rather than just like the last 30 minutes for this third act battle and epilogue. So it was a little disappointing. I think the movie should have had more of the Birds of Prey in it, and unfortunately, because it bombed at the box office, we never got a Birds of Prey sequel, and now that the DCU is over, we're never going to see these girls come together again. So I guess I'll always have the final 30 minutes of this movie to enjoy and wonder what could have been. Speaking on the Birds of Prey, I don't understand why Cassandra Cain is in this movie. Not the character itself, but why this character is Cassandra Cain. In the comics, Cassandra Cain is a League of Assassins member who was the daughter of Lady Shiva. She eventually becomes one of Batman's trusted sidekicks. She's Batgirl for a little bit. She goes by the name Orphan. She's one of those Batman characters that kind of changes their name throughout the comics and stuff like that. But she is the character that people believe is the most worthy successor of succeeding Bruce Wayne Batman, because she's just that badass. And rightfully so. But in this movie, she's just a street kid who comes from a toxic, abusive, adopted family. And I think they could have used a different character in the Batman mythos that still fits in the same pocket and realm and could connect with all of the Birds of Prey a lot more than this version of Cassandra Cain. And that character's name is Harper Row. She is a street kid that comes from a toxic family. She is part of the LGBTQ community because I believe she is gay, but don't quote me on that. She could be bi. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've read the comics that she was in. But she kind of fits into a box that she could connect with all the Birds of Prey members. She is a future sidekick of Batman in the comics, which would relate her to Huntress, who also works with Batman from time to time. She has a sense of justice because she likes Batman as a superhero, which would connect her to Renee Montoya. She's street tough, which would allow her to get along with Black Canary. And she has a thing for being a bit of a rebel, and she has colored hair and is a part of the LGBTQ community like Harley Quinn is. She would have been able to connect to all the characters in the Birds of Prey significantly more than this pseudo Cassandra Cain character that they created for the movie that is more of like an original character that just happens to be named after a comic book character for a reference, rather than this being a comic book character that's being adapted into the movie for a purpose. So I think if they would have swapped her out with Harper Row, she would have fit way better into the movie and still would have meshed in the same way, and it would have felt more satisfying to fans because it would have felt like they got a better adaptation of an obscure character. Cassandra and Harper are both obscure characters that haven't really made it into live action very much, so I feel like using either or of them would have worked better, and I think Cassandra could have probably been saved for a different movie that dealt with like the League of Assassins or something like that. So I don't know, that's just my personal take on what they should have done with this character. Cassandra still is a fun character in the movie, and the actress that plays her does a really good job that makes me find her likable, but I don't know, I still think they should have probably gone with Harper for this character instead, because I think her backstory and character type fits in with the Birds of Prey way more and would have been more satisfying for fans of the comics and be like, oh, that's cool, they adapted this character, they really know what they're talking about here. That's just my 2 cents on it. I also believe that Black Mask and Victor Zsasz should have looked crazier in this movie. Like, Black Mask has a helmet that is supposed to be his iconic, like, face from the comics, but I don't know, just give the man, like, a prosthetic black mask and have him look like this for the whole movie. I think you could have done it. Like, Harley looks ridiculous in every scene that she's in with the whole film, so if you're gonna go extravagant and have Harley look this crazy, I think you could let Black Mask and Zsasz look insane as well. Like, this is late into the DCEU, so this is a universe where aliens and crocodile people exist. So, like, I think that we could have been perfectly fine if you would have let Black Mask look crazy, especially since this movie does take place in Gotham. But that is something I will criticize this movie for. This city does not look like Gotham. It just looks like Manhattan in broad daylight. It doesn't have the aesthetic that you would expect Gotham to have. They get one thing right about it, and that's the people. This movie feels like Gotham from a person-to-person standpoint. You've got sleazebags and crazy people running around all the time doing a bunch of nonsensical stuff, and it really does feel like Gotham City on a personal level from the people that live there. I feel like these people are psychos that can manage to hold their own in a city filled with nightmares like the Joker and Clayface, which Clayface isn't brought up in the DCEU, but I'm just saying, referencing from the comics, that like Batman and the Joker and Harley are running around and Killer Croc and all that kind of stuff. This feels like the city that these crazy people would live in. Like, there's a roller derby person who throws like a toaster at Harley Quinn just because she's mad she broke her nose during a roller derby match. Like, these are the kind of people I would expect to inhabit Gotham City, but I wish the city looked more like Gotham. I particularly don't care for the fact that this movie is shot during the day. I like the way everything looks, but also at the same time, I don't like seeing Gotham in the day. Like, daytime scenes are more from Metropolis, because that's like the bright city of tomorrow. Gotham's supposed to be the dark, grungy city that's like always shrouded in darkness, because it just is. That's how I like Gotham. I don't know. It's just weird seeing Gotham in the day, because it just makes it feel like not Gotham. It just makes it feel like normal Manhattan, which is significantly less cool. And yeah, if I'm being honest, I think that's really all I have to say. There's not much I can really tell you about this movie. It's just really solid. The story is really well put together. I love how all of the characters interweave with one another. And Harley being an unreliable narrator makes the movie a lot of fun, because you'll see scenes happening, wondering what's going on, and then Harley will be like, oh, wait a minute, and then cut you back to a different scene to give you context of what's going on, to build you back in, and so on and so forth. And that just makes it really good. And surprisingly enough, it's a very heartfelt movie showcasing Harley getting over the breakup with her and the Joker, and I really love that. You see the way she bonds with the Birds of Prey and Cassandra specifically, and you see like how she's building herself up from just being the Joker's girlfriend into Harley Quinn, and I think that works fantastically well, especially since that she was just kind of like a sex symbol in Suicide Squad. So I think they really did a good job of making her a cool and well-rounded character in this movie. But yeah, like I said, I don't really have much to say about this movie because it's just really good. I highly recommend just checking it out for yourself. So I'm going to cut this video short, and I'm going to leave now. So like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube nonsense. I'm the innocent villain, your innocent unproven villainous, and I'll catch you for the next video. Peace!